Hi guys, welcome back. Section B today, where we're going to talk about some actual severe weather, some storms. Okay, we don't get a lot of storms here in Southern California. I mean, we get the occasional thunderstorm, but nothing like they get in the rest of the country. So go on vacations and experience some cool, crazy, potentially dangerous weather. All right. So by definition, a storm is a severe disturbance in the atmosphere. Okay, and it's kind of a weird definition, but it's more than just precipitation. Okay. There's some specific kind of winter storms that we don't get. Okay. By definition, a winter storm is a very cold storm that brings lots of frozen precipitation. Okay, lots of hail or sleet or snow. So that's why we don't get those. I guess you could say we occasionally get a hailstorm, but it's very, very out of the ordinary. One specific kind of winter storm is called a nor'easter, and it's called that because it affects the northeastern states of the country. And so basically, cyclonic movement, so circular air movement, a circular storm, brings in lots of moisture from the Atlantic Ocean up by the New England area, eastern states, New York, Pennsylvania up there. It brings all that moisture in and it dumps just a lot of snow. Okay, if you ever watch football, you see some of these football games being played up there, the New England Patriots or whatnot. Lots and lots of snow. Okay. Some of those states up there on the eastern side of the Great Lakes also experiencing something known as lake effect snow. The city of Buffalo gets this a lot. So basically, an air mass moves over the Great Lakes. It picks up a lot of moisture, and then it dumps all that moisture as snow onto the land on the leeward side. Okay. Leeward is like the after side. Windward is the initial side. So you would consider the lake kind of the windward side. And then it dumps all that precipitation onto land, and that's just called lake effect snow. Thunderstorms are the most common type of storm, and we do get thunderstorms here. They form in cumulonimbus clouds. They can bring thunder and lightning, and they bring a lot of precipitation, okay, usually rain. And these develop in 3 stages, okay? So we have the developing stage. Let me get my pen. This first picture here refers to it as a towering cumulus stage. It's the developing stage. And that's when we get this moist air that rises, that uplifting of air. As it rises, it cools and condenses, and so that forms the cloud, okay? The mature stage is when that condensation results in actual rain droplets, okay? And they might coalesce and get a little bit bigger, and they try to fall, but the updrafts keep them in the cloud where they can get bigger, okay? And they fall again, and that motion, that downward motion of the rain causes downdrafts. So we actually have wind kind of moving up and down in these clouds, which is where the thunder and lightning comes from. It's where the lightning comes from, okay? And then finally, the dissipating stage, as the storm loses its energy, it's not growing anymore, the wind kind of runs out, and so there's not enough updrafts to keep the raindrops in the cloud anymore, and so they finally fall. That causes mainly just the downdrafts now, and the cloud just starts dumping that precipitation. Eventually, it will run out of water to be able to continue feeding that rain, but that's known as the dissipating stage. Okay. All right. So thunder and lightning. Lightning is nothing more than a gigantic static shock. When you rub your feet across the carpet and then you touch a light switch and you feel that little zap, that is a static shock. A static shock basically rebalances an imbalance of electric charge. And it's usually caused by friction. So as the water molecules are moving up and down because of the updrafts and the downdrafts in a cloud, it causes a lot of friction. And there's a buildup of charge. Eventually, it needs to discharge that imbalance in a huge static shock. And that can occur either from cloud to cloud or from cloud to ground, okay? We can see lightning when it's cloud to cloud. Sometimes it's just within the cloud, but the really cool lightning is when it hits the ground, and we can see these massive lightning bolts, okay? So lightning is caused by friction and a big static discharge. Now, thunder is literally the sound of lightning, okay? But it's a little more complicated than that. Lightning is really, really, really hot. Let's see, a lightning bolt can reach up to 28,000 degrees Celsius, okay? So when that lightning bolt, discharges, it superheats all the air molecules. And when particles of matter heat, they expand. Okay. And so what happens is the heat causes all the air molecules to leave. They go away, and it forms a vacuum, meaning there's absolutely no matter there. Well, nature doesn't like a vacuum. And so just as quickly as the air leaves, it comes back. But when it comes back so quickly, it crashes into itself, and it results in this loud, crashing, thunderous sound. So when you hear thunder, it is nothing more than air molecules, air particles slamming into each other. Isn't that wild? Crazy. What should you do if you're caught in a thunderstorm and there's lightning? Go inside, seek shelter, okay? It is not safe to be outside if it is close, okay? I know it's cool to look at, but you got to get inside. If you are outside, stay away from water. Don't be the tallest thing, because lightning will look for the tallest thing. And avoid metal, avoid things that conduct electricity easily, like fences and poles and electric poles and things like that. If you are out in the middle of the field and there is a tree, don't hang out under the tree, because the tree is probably going to get hit, okay? If you are in a vehicle, stay in your vehicle. The rubber tires will actually help insulate you, but don't touch any of the metal in the car, okay? Best thing you can do is get inside, right? All right, tornadoes. Tornadoes are basically a whirling cloud that touches the ground, okay? It's a narrow, rapidly spinning section of air that can actually extend down and touch the ground. These also form in cumulonimbus clouds, and the wind speed of a tornado can reach up to 320 miles an hour. I've heard stories of pieces of hay actually being embedded into trees because it blows so fast, or so much energy to it, it can just kind of act like a bullet almost, okay? The most frequently occurring tornadoes actually happen in our country, in this area called Tornado Alley. And you can see a map on page 486 that kind of shows the states there, kind of the central part of the country through the Great Plains. The conditions are right that there's just a lot of tornadoes that occur in that area. Tornadoes are kind of given a rating based on their wind speed, the width of the actual funnel, and the damage that occurs because of it. It's called the Fujita-Pearson scale, and it's a 0 to 5 rating. And you can see a diagram of that on page 488, okay? So an F0 has wind speeds of 105 to 137 kilometers per hour. And then an F5 is greater than 320 kilometers per hour. Okay. I gave you this in miles per hour. You guys can do those conversions to see what that is. Okay. Safety. Again, seek shelter. Don't be outside in a tornado. Okay. Don't be those storm chasers. Tornadoes can actually travel along the ground faster than a vehicle. So don't think you can outdrive it and get to safety. Okay. Areas that get tornadoes have basements or storm shelters, or like storm cellars underground. That's the best place to be. If you can't get to a basement, stay away from windows. Okay, the pressure differences and the high wind can cause debris to break the windows. If you are in a house, cover yourself with blankets, or even, like, I've heard people will get into a bathtub and cover themselves with a mattress. Okay, if you are stuck outside, find a building, like really find a building. But I've also heard to get up into like a freeway overpass. Okay, so if you notice, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you might have this overpass, and there's like these hills that kind of come down under it, and then there's the road, right? So if you can climb up into this area, this is a road up here, this is a road right here. If you can climb up into this little alcove of the freeway overpass, it's safer than being out in the middle of nowhere. That's like worst case scenario, okay? All right, then we have hurricanes. Hurricanes, by definition, have to have wind over 119 kilometers per hour, which is about 74 miles per hour. These are the biggest, like actual widest storms of all. They're also cyclonic, meaning they spin, and they're these giant, twirly, spinny windstorms, super scientific, right? that form over tropical oceans. So they need warm, moist air and the Coriolis effect to form. So the spin comes from that Coriolis effect. But they form over water, tropical warm water, to get a lot of moisture into them. Okay. The eye of the storm is that center part right there. And that is kind of the calm area. So if this is hitting land, okay, you've got all of the storm to get through. And then you might, if the eye of the storm goes right over you, it's like, oh, we made it. It's over, but it's not over because you've got all of this that you need to get through as well. So these are like massive storms that can last for a few days. Okay. If it's less wind than the 119 kilometers per hour, anywhere between 63 kilometers per hour and like 118, it's considered a tropical storm, but it starts getting watched because as it's collecting moisture over the ocean, it could grow into a hurricane. Okay. Hurricanes can cause this thing called storm surge, which is actually just really a very high tide caused by low air pressure. So these hurricanes are very, very, very low air pressure. And so normal air pressure kind of holds the water down. This is such a low pressure that the water level is actually able to rise. And it causes a lot of flooding known as a storm surge. Okay? Hurricanes and tropical storms are named alphabetically, and they alternate between male and female names. Okay, so at the beginning of the season, and it goes by year. Okay, so if you hear of Tropical Storm Albert, that's the first one of the year. If you hear of Hurricane, Tallulah or something, that there's been that many hurricanes named before that time. Okay. They eventually run out, okay? Just like a thunderstorm, they'll eventually run out of that moisture and run out of that energy. The wind kind of dies down and they just kind of dissipate. They just kind of go away. Hurricanes are rated or ranked on a 1 to 5 scale, also based on wind speed and damage, and it's called the Saffir-Simpson scale. And you can see that on page 490. So a category 5 hurricane would have sustained wind speed of over 250 kilometers per hour, okay? Just causes tons of damage, right? Seek high ground. Pay attention to the evacuation warnings. If you are in an area that is prone to hurricanes, you will see evacuation route signs. Pay attention to it. If you are told to evacuate and get away from the coast, because that's the places that are hit the hardest, okay? I believe that's it. Stay safe. Bye.